We are talking. We are talking edge. All right. Are they outside linebackers? Are they defensive ends? We are talking about the edge. All right. Who is staying? Who's going? Will there be a surprise cut? Is there someone that needs to be brought in? And don't worry, Bryce will be talked about because we will huff, we will puff, and blow this conversation wide open. It's Boy Green meets Woody coming at you.
It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Welcome. We are live. Do not adjust. If you're on Twitter, at BoyGreen25. You're on YouTube at BoyGreen25. If you're looking at the James Woody, there is no adjustment needed because this is Boy Green meets Woody. If you've been following along, then you know we've been going through each position, all right, from top to bottom. And this one, is about to be super exciting. All right, this is the edge. A lot of our favorite player to watch this season, Bryce Huff, will be discussed. But this is James Woody. Let's pass it to the man of the hour, Boy Green. How you doing?
I appreciate the handoff. Out the other side. Got the football. Yeah, here we go. And this is a big conversation. I'm glad that it worked out this way where we're closer to free agency because obviously we started this like over a month ago. So to go through the positions, it's kind of natural that we get to the Jets' biggest question of their own in-house free agent set to hit the open market in Bryce Huff. And the Jets are going to be losing a few pieces here. Carl Lawson, potentially, Bryce Huff. And when I say potentially, because technically, of course, the Jets could choose to retain any of these guys at any time. With a franchise tag or a contract extension. Now, that's not likely for either of those guys, but just as a conversation piece, it won't become official for a few more weeks. But I do want to start here with Woody because it's part of the headline. Reacting to analysts' stern warning to NFL teams about Bryce Huff. And I read this piece, and it's included in the YouTube description down below for anyone who's watching live or after the fact. And it was from Bleacher Report. And the guy's name was Brent Sobleski, Sobleski, something of that nature, of Bleacher Report. And he warned the entire NFL that they will regret spending top dollar, if they do, on Bryce Huff as a pass rusher. And that kind of, I'm like, oh, really? Interesting. The league had to be warned about Bryce Huff, apparently, but to hit the open market. And I'll also add this is also in the story as well, but Zach Rosenblatt, I'll be sharing a few clips. You guys may see that over the coming days. And one of the clips I will share is Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic predicts that Bryce Huff will be receiving one of the largest contracts of any free agent he believes that's coming up on the market. And that gave me a little, whoa, okay, whoa, mama. So a warning. That kind of large contract coming. And here was the spiel from Brent before we dive into it on why he's warning teams. Here it is. Quote, Bryce Huff is one of the game's best pure pass rushers. Lightning quick, flexible, tenacious. Actually going to put that on my dating profile. These are great adjectives that can also fit. Anywho, but he's never been an every down defender at the professional level. Huff will be highly sought after once the tampering period begins, but teams will do so not fully knowing what they're going to get in return. How the defender holds up when playing consistently will tell us whether he was worth the type of contract he's going to get in free agency. And he added some other details in there about, here's the ultimate kind of drop the mic. Quote, A real possibility exists where expanded playing time against the run and heightened physicality could wear Huff down, which lessens his effectiveness as a pass rusher. If that turns out to be the case, he won't warrant the deal that should fall between, in their projections, $14 to $20 million annually on a multi-year deal. So I'm going to be honest, Woody, when I heard like sternly worded letter, as Andrew jokes about on our YouTube page, a sternly worded letter that is sent out on Bryce Huff, when you hear the warning's kind of true, because to be honest, all of us assume things, right? We say, well, Bryce Huff got 10 sacks playing 42% of the snaps. If that's 100% of the snaps, he has a cajillion sacks. Okay, like that math. It's like what we do with Ashton Davis, and I do it in a joking fashion, but I really hope they bring him back, right? Like he has an insane amount. I used to have the number, but he has an insane amount of turnovers per snap because like he's not playing a lot. So it's extrapolated, right? The interceptions, fumble recoveries, and everything. Man, if he played 100% of the snaps, he'd be up there with Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu as the greatest safeties of all time. And we all kind of go, whoa, okay. But really, we don't know what Bryce Huff is on a full snap basis. He told Rich Cimini, we also have that quote in this story as well. Here it is. This is Bryce Huff to Rich Cimini exclusively this offseason. Quote, I definitely want to be able to find a scheme that sees me as an every down player. It gives me the opportunity to show that I can be a top tier edge in this league and the run and the pass, end quote. And if you paid attention to Bryce Huff's social media, by the way, he's been very, and I don't mean this in a negative way, so no one take it out of context, of sensitive. He has been very on Twitter saying, hey, I know people are questioning my run defense, but it's gotten better, and watch the film and do these kind of things. Like he really wants to prove that he believes he's a full every down player and everything in the mix. By the way, hearing that quote sure doesn't sound like a guy that wants to come back to the Jets. I want to go to a team that plays me every friggin' snap. It doesn't even have a Quinnen Williams. So anywho, that's a long diatribe here for this question, this topic. I ask you, what do you make of the warning that Brent Solskjaer sent out to the league saying, whoa, may want to read this before you sign on the dotted line for Bryce Huff? What make view of that?
Well, I'm kind of an old man, boy Green. I think anybody who reaches a certain age has had at least one person in their life where it's like, this person is amazing. They're so funny. They're, I love hanging out with them. I see them, once a month, maybe, twice a month. Oh, you know what? Let's start hanging out with this person, every week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much fun. Yeah. There's so much fun. But then next thing you know, let's move in together. Let's do something crazy, right?
So
it doesn't work out. Some people are just better in doses. Okay, that is a fact of life. Some people, all right, you're cool once a month. You're cool once a month, but I need you to stay there. I need you to stay there in that off time. Is that Bryce Huff? We don't know. This person is making an argument that yes, that is Bryce Huff. The way I see it, we truly don't know. So I cannot say this person is right or wrong, but I do think that is something worth considering. And I think that is why Joe Douglas is not going to offer Bryce Huff $20 million. I mean, no one knows Bryce Huff better than the New York Jets coaching staff, right? The Houston Texans, any team, right? They're going off of the same things pretty much that we're going off. Obviously, they have a little bit more access to a few more things, but it's the same concept, right? They don't know the man the way that Joe Douglas just raised this man from the orphanage of undrafted free agency, and Salah just cultivated him into a guy who can get 10 sacks. So if they don't feel like he is an every down back, we know the numbers on his run defense. He can tell me to look. I mean, it's clear as day. I don't know where he want me to look. I mean, I have these blue light glasses. Does he think that will help me? Bryce, please tell me where to look, and I will do my best. I will do my best to see. But Bryce, if they don't believe it, I will trust, and I've said it time again, I will trust his defensive coaching staff. I've seen what they've done. They've made miracles. He's done miracles on me. I've seen it. I've seen the miracles that they've done. So if they don't think, if they think this is Bryce's ceiling or he's cool where he is, then I'm forced to believe that.
Wow, those were Urkel-like glasses you pulled out there. I haven't seen those, but the thing I will say is this, is that I think it's exactly what you said. It's just worth noting. It's like, it makes you think. It makes you, again, I want to reiterate, and I think we stand on the same ground here. I, in a perfect world, would like Bryce Huff back. I would like him on the team. I want to see what he looks like with Aaron Rodgers playing on the other side and what he could maximize. Just if he played at his same level with Aaron Rodgers, I think the sack production would dramatically increase. Increase the percentage to, as Ricky says here on our YouTube channel, 65%. Is it 15 or 16 sacks here? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, a lot of people would try to do that simple math and say 10 sacks, this percentage, bump up this. Does this bump up? That's interesting. Again, for me, I would love Bryce Huff back, but I think we're all reading the room. It's the murder scene. The young woman's in the shower, soap and then we're like, is that a shadow? Is that a guy with a knife? And we know what's happening. Sally, get out of the shower. He's there. Okay, that's what's happening. But like, there's not, obviously I'm screaming at a movie screen. She can't hear me. Sally's about to get the business. That's what's about to happen. That murderer is about to go shiv, shiv, shank, shake, stabby, stab, stab. Okay, and with Bryce Huff, the fact of the matter is, when you go full circle here, on February 22nd, live as we're doing the show at 3:00, or if you're watching after the fact, me in this moment, I'm like, I see Bryce Huff walking out the door, but he's not out yet. There's a couple weeks technically till he's fully out of the door, but we like see it, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. We can yell, it's that, again, I shared that, I don't know what movie that's from, you'll know, but I just love resharing it, the astronaut clip where he's outside the window going, no, please, no, and he's like watching himself in an earlier version. Yeah, right. And he's trying to prevent it. No, stop, no. Like, I'm yelling to Bryce Huff, please, no. And there's nothing I could do I'm trying to talk to Joe Douglas. Don't let him out, please. Like, see, we're doing all these references. But the fact of the matter is this. I think Bryce Huff is leaving, and there's nothing we can do about it. But it will be a fascinating thing to see, okay, if Bryce Huff does end up leaving and he signs with another team, and they're naturally, the Jets and 49ers and a couple of other teams are the very few that do this percentage thing and leash them in waves. Most teams, I would say the far majority, play Quinnen Williams. You're playing 100% of snaps. You're our guy. Like, within reason. Like, it's 90+% Aaron Donalds of the world, I would imagine. Wherever you are. If Bryce Huff goes somewhere and gets the bag, I imagine whoever that person is going to go, all right, you're playing 40, now you're playing 90. 85. You're playing some crazy number. It'll be interesting to see if he turns into a 20-sack guy. The Jets are going to look like idiots probably. And if he gets injured a lot or is not appearing in all the games, or the sack production is somewhat comparable, then all of a sudden we'll evaluate the Jets differently. But that's, I think, the piece of the puzzle in all of this and the Bryce Huff thing. I think he's leaving. I don't think there's a damn thing we could do about it. I've tried to pitch to team insiders, hey, tag and trade. I even gave him my crazy cockamamie idea of combine, work out the trade in advance, framework of the deal, and all of them told me to kick rocks. They said that ain't happening. So they said never say never, but never. And I was like, so it just feels like Bryce Huff's walking out the door. There's not a damn thing we can do about it.
I'm at peace with it, because of what you said. I mean, I felt, from week 18, it felt like that. He had a couple quotes at that time talking about, his future that, led me to believe that's not going to work out. Also, Joe Douglas doesn't really pay people. So I could have just stayed with that. But after saying with Bryce and everything, one thing I will say to his credit is that you could have made this exact same concept that we're talking about, good in doses and waves. Could have been made last year, because last year he had a very, very high sack rate, and they drafted Will McDonald, and every single place, media outlet in the world was doing winners and losers of the draft night, and everyone had Bryce Huff as a loser because they have Will McDonald. He might not even make the team anymore. He pretty much just, they drafted his replacement. And while this year, I guess that is what is about to happen. This past offseason, this past regular season, the man had 10 sacks. Mm-hmm. He was able to play his way into that situation. He did get more snaps, right? Double the snaps that he had last year, and he got more than double the sacks. So from what we've seen, like if we're looking at trends, then I am willing to say that Bryce, I mean, I cannot count him out. As a pass rusher, I cannot count him out. I cannot say the same as his run defense. He's saying it's improved. Okay, all right, maybe.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. So you are right, by the way. Bryce Huff in 2022 played 20% of the snaps. How is that even possible? He played in 20% of the snaps, Pro Football Reference. And this past season, that actually just happened, he played 42%, so he played double. Do you believe, right? Because you say the Jets know him better than anybody, and you're right. He's in their building, strength, conditioning, everything. Like they see him inside the building. Do you believe that the Jets are saying to themselves, this is best Bryce Huff is playing this percentage, and if you go over to the wear and tear portion of the crowd, that all of a sudden it starts to dip, both production and maybe his appearances and being able to be regular? Or the Jets are wrong, and the Jets have been limiting him in a lot of ways by only playing him in certain amount of snaps, and he will go to a new place, play a bunch more snaps, and will be even more wildly productive. What does your gut say between those two?
It is closer to the latter. I don't want to say it's a latter. Like, I don't think, we have Max Crosby, at one Jets drive and, just giving him 42% of the snaps. But Ricky and YouTube, actually, I wholeheartedly agree. I feel like the Joe Douglas era has done this time and time again. Ricky New York speaking facts that undrafted free agents, right? They get no love. Like they are trying to play Jermaine Johnson. They're gonna get Will McDonald on the field this year. They are looking at where this person was drafted. And Bryce, it's good that he's producing. Like I think he is producing almost in spite of what the role that they carved out. So I do think if they gave him even more looks, he would continue to produce. But they want to develop Jermaine, they're looking to get other things happening. So I do think there's a little bit of them holding back, and that's why I trust him. Like when because he feels it too. I feel like I can trust that, but I do not think, he's Max Crosby or Nick Bosa. I don't think so.
I would take the baby that you just produced of Max Bosa. I would like that if that is on the table. And let's assess the edge position. So the Jets are set to lose a couple of interesting guys, but again, the positional description sometimes go off the reservation. So obviously Bryce Huff, edge player who we're all talking about. Again, we had inside linebackers earlier this week. We're kind of grouping all the defensive ends and edges all together in a nice, neat package today. Carl Lawson is the other one. Again, in theory, if Bryce Huff leaves, Carl Lawson's role on the Jets would expand if he was to stay. He would get a higher, in the hitting rotation. I don't know why I'm an idiot. I'm not saying the proper baseball term, but the batting order, right? So, like, if Bryce Huff was removed, obviously Carl Lawson would hit up a couple of notches in this rotation. But I imagine he gone. Again, because the Jets made him a bunch of healthy scratches. He was very passionate. They wanted to play. The Jets cut Dalvin Cook and allowed him to go seek other opportunities. I'm sure Carl felt a certain type of way, and I haven't spoke to Carl, so this is my speculation. But I imagine Carl's kind of like, why didn't you let me do that? Because if you're not going to play me, cut me and let me go somewhere else where I can play. Obviously, they chose not to do that, and they held on to him through the end of the season, even though he wasn't playing a bunch. Carl Lawson, I think, is gone. I think he's burnt by what happened there, and he just wants to move on. So that means the Jets are set to lose Carl Lawson. They're set to lose Bryce Huff, as we just talked about, for all those reasons. Those are the big losses for the New York Jets from an edge perspective for the New York Jets. There's a bunch of other things, and again, this will be an episode next week, so I don't want to spoil too much, but interior defensive line we're putting in its own category. So it'll be a big episode for next week. This is just edge, defensive ends, and pass rushers extraordinary, because like Jermaine Johnson technically now is listed as a linebacker, but obviously he's not a linebacker. So they're set to lose some stuff, which brings us full circle to the other side of the coin here, Woody. And by the way, real quick, Ricky here comments in, was never the same. We were robbed of what Carl Lawson was supposed to be. He looked like Lawrence Taylor, apparently, and then blows out his Achilles in a Packers joint practice, which is somewhat weirdly poetic now that I think about it, that a few years later, Aaron Rodgers was also at that practice, would later pop his Achilles on the Jets. It's some sort of weird Achilles cryptic horror movie going around. But yeah, I feel bad because like I was curious to see if Carl Lawson was the monster he was showing in preseason camp. We're like, okay, let's get to the field and see. And he looked like this dominant player. So it is kind of sad we never saw that. So hopefully we do see that somewhere else where he gets further and further removed from the Achilles. But TBD on that. But I think the big
I'm so sorry, but I just cannot let that disrespect. He is. I mean, Becton. He's not like Becton. Like he had a good season last year. He had some highlights last year. I mean, Becton, there is nothing you can produce.
You thought Carl Lawson had highlights last year?
He did have highlights. What are you talking about?
Single sack, did he?
He didn't have a single. Oh, no, I'm not talking about 2023. I'm talking about 2022.
Oh, I was like, I'm pretty sure yeah, he did not. He did not. He had 5 total tackles this past season, Carl Lawson.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about 2022. Sorry, because like we're still like in this season. We're still talking about this season. Well, I'm talking about 2022.
I see. Yeah, sure. Right. He had 7 sacks. Yeah, right. Yeah.
You cannot produce a Mekhi Becton highlight reel. It's not possible. Like post that injury. But Carl Lawson, after his Achilles injury,
the initial, right, correct, yes,
very solid 2022 season. I just had to give my boy some respect. I was looking forward to this past season, and unfortunately, things didn't work out.
Yeah. Again, it was a shame because as we've talked about before, the Jets could have saved all kinds of cap money, and he obviously had zero impact on the roster this year, unfortunately, for both his reasons and the Jets coaching staff reasons, but both. But either way, what this means is this is one of the most quietest needs on the Jets team. And you may say to yourself, what are you talking about, Paul? If the Jets let Bryce Huff leave, Carl Lawson, again, to me, is a foregone conclusion. He's leaving. You have Jermaine Johnson-Will, so they're both obviously going to get a lot of reps. JFM plays inside, outside, so he's going to get a lot of reps too. But with how the Jets operate from a defensive line rotation perspective, the person they need to, I'm just going to be blunt, they need to bring someone else in to eat those reps of Bryce Huff. Will McDonald isn't just going to eat all of them all together, and booyah, it's Huff for Will, 1-for-1 swap. That's not going to happen. Will is inevitably going to get a ton more, of course, but they're going to have to sign another guy and add him to the room to take some of what Lawson gave. Again, it wasn't a lot, but a lot of some of those reps. It's going to be the Bryce Huff reps that disappear. So they need to add someone else, and I'll give a shout out here. Connor Rogers mentioned all of these specifics on Badlands. I was going to play this clip on the show, but we're already 20 plus minutes on, so I won't drone on, but you guys can check it out on my Twitter. But Connor Rogers suggested that the Jets will sign a pass rusher, like it's a need we're not talking about, for 1 year, $7 or $8 million, that kind of investment. And they're all if you're watching the show, actually, we don't have this as an audio only version podcast, so you can only be watching the show. But if you're watching the show here on the screen, it's all of these guys hovered around Bryce Huff. And the bottom right-hand corner is Josh Uche, the New England Patriot. And they're all actually AFC's rivals. It's kind of a weird coincidence, but you have Josh Uche, bottom right-hand corner of the New England Patriots. Top left, we have Leonard Floyd, which would be kind of awkward in the locker room because Leonard Floyd is the one that tackled Aaron Rodgers when his Achilles went out. So then they'd become teammates and the next season. That'd be kind of weird. And then the bottom left-hand corner is Andrew Van Ginkel of the Miami Dolphins. So all of these guys are, as Connor Rogers kind of described them, the top pass rushers that make sense for that role the Jets would be filling, and they'd be getting starter reps, quote unquote, whatever that 40-50% is, plus being on this unit that's pumped out a lot. Is one of those names kind of stand out to you, or is there another name beyond that tickles your fancy for, again, if the Jets lose Huff and Lawson, as it appears they will need another pass rusher, I would assume veteran, not another draft pick, so another veteran hitman to come in and take advantage of some of those reps. Are one of those three tickle your fancy or someone else?
All right, well, let me answer your question. 2 words. Hell no. So I'll just say that no one on that list. No one on that list should be a Jet. But I definitely need to bring somebody in. And in James Woody's New York Jets, we actually have to bring in 2 people because we just talked about this. For those of you who watch these shows, we go through these positions, and I just spent however much time talking to you about CJ Mosley, and you were talking about his cap hit. It's unacceptable. It's ugly. Wouldn't bring it home to my mama. CJ, he's a captain. He's a good dude. We talked about, the cap situation is not great. We need to improve it. Okay, so let's look at the top people here for the New York Jets. Cap hits. Oh, JFM. What is he doing all the way up there? Cut him. Get him off the squad. I said this last year.
Come
They
on.
kept him. I would literally cut JFM. I would.
No, stop it.
Oh, sorry, not literally, because that's messed up. That's not literally. I'm not trying to draw any bloodshed. I'm talking about I would figuratively cut JFM from the squad. Definitely.
Why?
Yeah.
He's so
what do you
good,
mean?
man.
He's so good.
Yeah.
He's a decent player that is wildly overpaid. That's what I was telling you last week. Wildly overpaid. You think he deserves a top 5 cap hit on this team?
Well, no, but
so there you go. Get him off the squad. Save some money, and use that money to get 2, not 1, but 2 edge rushers, because we don't know if Little Willie is going to be able to step up and replace Bryce Huff's efficiency or energy. So,
wow.
That is what I'm saying. And the name, right? Because is it name time or?
Well, no. Before we go to name time, let's just go into some of the details of what you said on JFM. I agree with Dakota and a few others that are saying he's underrated completely. I know he doesn't have the sack production. He only had 3.5 sacks last year, 5 sacks the year before, 6 sacks the year before, 3. He's already, it's kind of crazy. He's already 4 seasons into the books, heading into a 5th season with the Jets. It's wild. It's been that long. But he doesn't have the crazy sack production. But his numbers on PFF are very nice in terms of overall grade, run defense, pass rush grade.
How about my boy Joe Cat? Joe Cat talking about JFM stunk ever since he got paid, just out the blue. This still has not happened.
It is. Oh, okay, yeah.
This still has not happened in the Joe Douglas era where somebody was randomly given an extension in the middle of the season. It's still the most bizarre move.
This is the quote. Sorry about that.
Yes, there it is. That's what I'm saying. It was the most bizarre move of Douglas's tenure, just overpaying. So in the middle of a season where he was having a decent season, I like that he was a Jet, and just threw him a bag for no reason, for literally no reason. Save money, save the bread, because we need it now. We need it now, and JFM is getting too much, too large a piece of the pie. Okay, so I think we can do a lot better than that for that type of money.
Your guy Joe Cat is just going a little crazy. Quinnen was amazing last year, sacking 7 backup quarterbacks, and he gets paid and then 5 sacks.
We taking one comment. One comment.
No, if you're backing your guy, these are the comments he's spitting out into the universe. I just have to say this. Sacks are a very important stat, obviously. That's how Quinnen gets paid. That's how anyone gets paid, by getting sacks. Quarterback, again, Jet fans know better than anyone. Big Cat, who is set to be a free agent once again, Leonard Williams, is captain quarterback pressure. Well, the analytics, the quarterback pressures. Look at this guy. And then but Jet fans are like, nah, man, he ain't it. Let's go in a different direction. But come on, man. Quinnen Williams, a quick defense of Quinnen Williams for some of the people that are criticized.
Please.
Okay, sure. Okay, he didn't have his double-digit sack season he had. But interesting note here, Solomon Thomas, career high in sacks. Quentin Jefferson, career high in sacks. Bryce Huff, career high in sacks. Is that a random coincidence? Or, wait, Quinnen is drawing so much attention that everyone else are having these career sack seasons. So, Joe Cat, with all due respect, let's park that baby, okay? Let's put that aside. Now, on JFM, go ahead.
No, all I'm going to say, we can't bat 1,000, okay? So he might have struck out on the Quinnen take, but JFM, Joe Cat hit a grand slam with that JFM take. But Quinnen, no, that was a strikeout. Come on, man. Thank you, Boy Green, for that Quinnen defense.
And Ricky, I love Sean Ellis. There's a lot of cats, so I get it. People are, they're getting older. I'm not trying to, discriminate on the cats. The cats are. I love Sean Ellis. He's one of my faves, but also he did play for the Patriots at the end of his career. Not a big fan of that. Anywho, the point is that JFM's contract is enormous. He is set to have a $16.3 million cap hit. If the Jets cut him, as you say, cut him. Not literally cut him and shiv him, but if they just straight up cut him and remove him, they would save $7 million in available cap space. But I would say this, Woody. I bet a pretty dollar that the Jets could, to move on for JFM, if that was a decision they made, they could trade JFM. There would be people that would be intrigued at JFM, and maybe they'd have to rework his contract, although the Jets would have to eat some of it anyway, so maybe they'd still get a pretty decent deal. He's got 2 years left of his deal, 2024 and 2025. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have to cut a guy like JFM. I'm fairly certain you could get a nice little compensation, a day 3 pick at worst for a guy like JFM. He's good. He's not Lawrence Taylor, and he never will be, but he's just an underrated guy that can play inside, can play outside. He does very well in the PFF overall numbers. Pressures are up there. Like, he's a complete defensive lineman. I like JFM a lot.
Should I pull out a box of tissues?
Oh, how dare you.
He's all right. He's all right. I'm not saying he's bad. He's definitely not bad, but he is wildly overpaid in a season that the Jets need money. Like, you attack CJ Mosley, but CJ Mosley is him. JFM, he has no Pro Bowl potential. He has no all-pro potential. He's a good player. He's a solid hand. He plays inside, outside. Nice. That is cool. Overpaid. Whether it's a trade, I mean, the post-June 1st cut numbers, right? If you look at that dead cap, it's a lot more than $7 million. We need the money. I'm telling you, we can do better. And that's what I meant when we talked about CJ Mosley, and you said
that caught me off guard. Wow. I did not have that on the bingo card, a JFM attack. But
hey, I mean,
here's the thing: if we're going to bash JFM here, the one thing I will say is that JFM has been responsible for a lot of penalties that have changed games and seasons. True. He, the Michael Carter, the second pick 6 against the Patriots, where we're going to run him out of the building. Whoop! Late hit Mac Jones flips the game. Of course, the Jets end up losing that one as they lost 1 million games to Patriots. Of course, the streak is over. But. Yes. In that moment, blessed be he. But in that moment, he had that one. I was at the Week 2 Jets-Cowboys game, and I'm fairly certain the guy who hit Dak Prescott late, a questionable call, but nonetheless hit Dak Prescott late, happened at the end of the first half where they gave him a flag, and then all of a sudden the Cowboys scored a touchdown on that drive. I'm pretty sure they scored the touchdown and the 2-point conversion on that drive, which changes the game. So he's had some very ill-advised and ill-timed penalties on some of these hits that he's had. So that's a fair criticism of him. But wow, that one would catch me off guard. To your point, though, when you look at the cap situation, the blood has to run in the streets. Whose blood is it is the thing that I think a lot of us, is it Lakin? Is it CJ Uzama? Is it this guy? Is it that guy? Is it Mosley? Is it JFM? Like, someone's blood is going to have to run, and we are getting close here. I mean, we're recording this live on February 22nd. The Jets haven't made a lot of these cuts that other teams have. The Bears, Eddie Jackson, get your ass out of here. Cody Whitehair, see ya. Like, all these people, there's blood in the streets. The Rams just cut their center. I think it's like Brian Allen or something. Like, veterans are getting cut to make money, and the Jets, as we're getting closer and closer to legal tampering period, NFL Combine starts next week. Like, we're getting to, as they say in the business bluntly, nut cutting time, and people are going to have to go. So, maybe it is JFM. Maybe it is a surprise like that catches us by surprise, because I think Uzama feels like a foregone conclusion. And then I don't think we have any foregone conclusion cuts. I think all the rest of them are conversation. Lakin, a conversation. CJ Mosley, a conversation, not like real cut, but like to change the contract extension, God knows what. So I think that's where we're at here. But so let me circle back just to confirm. You believe that the Jets do need a pass rusher to replace Bryce Huff in the veteran market, but none of the names in which that were brought up, basically, is what you said?
That is correct. And then a second name to replace JFM, who is getting paid way too much money.
Go ahead. Which is who? Oh, you said so you say if Bryce Huff leaves, we need 1. If JFM leaves, we need 2, basically, is what you're saying. Yes.
Okay. Like, 1 to replace Bryce, 1 to replace JFM. Because again, JFM is a good player. It's not, it's not dead weight that, like, CJ Uzama, cut CJ Uzama, this is how I'm gonna sleep that night. But if JFM is cut, then no, there needs to be somebody brought in. So that is my flowers, all right? For those of you roasting me in the comments for Boy Green thinking, what is this guy thinking? That there is my flowers for JFM. He is somebody who needs to be cut because he's overpaid, but he will need to be replaced. See, CJ won't need to be replaced because it means nothing. It's just he's a net negative, right? He's addition by subtraction.
Okay.
So
a couple of points here. So, like, Dakota gave us this list. Dwayne Brown's a free agent. You don't have to cut him. Billy Turner's a free agent. You don't have to cut him. Mekhi Becton's a free agent. You don't have to cut him. And then Cobb is a free agent. You don't have to cut him. So there's a lot of these names that apparently you're just cutting out of spite or some sort of weird witch energy. Yeah, cut. He's already out of the building, sir. We'll spit on him on the way out. Like, good Lord. Like, these guys are cut. So we don't need any of that. But I think Ricky says what a lot of people have believed. The people that have whispered about JFM getting cut this offseason have said, is the decision JFM or Bryce Huff, not both. That's what some people have brought up to say, hey, and I saw the comment earlier, but I can't find it. But someone said earlier, hey, if I could cut JFM and save Bryce Huff, I will pack JFM's bags for him. It's what another commenter said either on Instagram or one of the other platforms that we have on here. So I think that's a conversation a lot of people are having, but it seems like if that was a conversation to be had, wouldn't we already be having it now? Not like on a show, like it would be an actual thing that would be hearing from people if that was a thing to be had. Again, we should hear from Joe Douglas. I believe that's going to come up on Wednesday. Coming up next Wednesday, I do believe, because I'm set to speak with a Jets. I don't want to tease it before it's official, but I'm speaking with a Jets team insider I've never spoken with on the show before, live from the Combine. And I believe we're supposed to have that conversation right after Joe Douglas speaks. So I'm looking forward to that. So guys, stay tuned to the YouTube channel for that. I'll also put that out on the gram and whatnot. You know, I'm trying to expand the empire, obviously, and TBD and all that. But we do have to see. That's the one that I think we have to figure out from that perspective, Woody.
It would be nice to cut Bryce. Cut Bryce. No, to cut JFM for Bryce. That would be nice. But I think Bryce wants the biggest bag. I just think we will be out. The Jets would be outsold. I don't think, no matter how much cap there is, I don't think Joe Douglas wants to commit $18 million annually for the next however many years, which I wholeheartly agree. I would not want to give that much for that, that type of commitment, because, and anybody who's saying, why not? Why not? Because Sauce, you just had the draft of a century. And I think we should all be in agreement that we want to retain those guys for sure. So the less amount of big money, long-term deals that we have, the best. Quinnen Williams, foundational piece. God bless. I would re-sign that man for the same exact terms right now. Okay. Everyone else, if JFM helps Joe Douglas's offer go from 8 to 12, all right, cool. But I think he's still going to chase 20 no matter what.
All right, let's wrap up the show with a couple of questions from the great fans all over wherever you guys are asking your questions. Super chat, skip the queue. So if you guys do that on YouTube, we'll answer those guaranteed, but I'll try to get to a few here. All right, we got Rory on YouTube. Do you guys think a surprise trade is possible this offseason? One like the Tyreek Hill trade where we didn't know about it till the day of. I will tell you, Zach Rosenblatt, I was because I like listening to my own interviews because I'm an egomaniac and I love hearing the sound of my voice and looking at myself, but also because I like going through the interviews to see if there's interesting clips I can share out, shorter versions if people didn't listen to the full interview. And during my 45-plus minute conversation with Zach Rosenblatt, he predicted actually that the Jets will make a surprise trade, a name that we're not talking about. He didn't have any names to throw out, but he just thinks that's going to happen to fill one of the needs for the New York Jets. He believes there will be a surprise trade, an acquisition, basically, not an exit like JFM or someone we talked about, but like a surprise trade incoming at a position of need. So he believes it's going to happen, and I concur. I think we're going to get something, whether that's at wide receiver creatively, could be offensive line. I think we could see a Cam Robinson or a Garrett Bowles. I'll throw those two names out there. Those are offensive tackles for the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Denver Broncos. They could be either some level of a salary dump. They're talented players, but their teams are in cap situations. That could be a creative way to fill one of the holes potentially. I'll do more on those on one of the Boy Green Daily episodes. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow morning or one of the days coming up, but I'll dive into those in more details, give you guys contract numbers and things. But I think that's one we could see. Woody, what do you think?
Yeah, I would completely agree. And to follow up Ricky's comment, that's how we land Cortland Sutton. If that happens, I will definitely there will be some celebration. Let me tell you, that would be a great time. I do think that is something that is possible. I got my fingers crossed. I do think we need something to shake things up. And based on your feedback with Zach Rosenblatt, I'm feeling good. But there is one, because I never actually said my names for this edge rusher to bring in.
Yeah. Who are the names? Yeah, give me the names. Yeah.
All right. My apologies. I guess I've been slow on the trigger. Slow on the trigger.
Okay. That's okay. Better late than never, I suppose. What do we got?
Jadeveon Clowney.
Ooh, I love Clowney. I've loved him forever. I know people hate him apparently in the streets. Like they don't think he's a former number 1 overall pick and maybe didn't live up to that hype. But I love Clowney. He's such an elite run defender and he's solid in pass rush.
He is really good at pass rush. He doesn't get the respect he deserves because, the totals, right? He doesn't have like 20 sack seasons and stuff like that. But the man is always in the backfield. He's always in the backfield. And just one stat that I'd like to share.
Oh, sure. We do.
Because of, Clowney and all this stuff, right? Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah.
Almost certainly, he will be the number 1 edge rusher for the Jets coming into this season, right? Because Bryce will most likely be gone. And
I by virtue, I guess. Yeah, because I can't think it. Yeah, because Will won't. There's no production or like maybe he becomes it or something. But yeah, Jermaine would be the lead guy, I would imagine, based on the roster we have. Sure, yeah.
JFM might, be, like they might, trust a vet. No, I'm getting. This is me giving more flowers, more flowers.
It's good to receive. Yeah. Okay.
Most likely though, it is Jermaine. Yeah. But Jermaine, if we're just sack watching, which so many of us do, right? We already saw comments already talking about sack numbers. Mm-hmm. Jermaine, he got a sack for every 100 snaps. Like that's not that efficient. I mean, if we compare that to Bryce Huff, he was getting a sack every 45 snaps.
Yeah,
45 to 100. And where does Jadeveon Clowney lie?
Yeah,
I mean he had 9.5 sacks. So we pretty much almost equal sacks to Bryce, and it was taking
a fraction of the cost probably too.
Yes, definitely at a fraction of the cost. I mean, like you said, that 1 year, $7 million deal. Spot Track has him right there, literally 7.3.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay.
So that works out perfect. And then it was taking Clowney 68 snaps, so way closer to that Bryce. Still not at Bryce is Bryce. He was doing it literally at a top 5 level in the NFL. I don't think we're getting anyone in that top 5 list in the NFL because those other guys were Max Crosby and Myles Garrett and all those guys. But to get someone still very efficient at getting sacks, always living in the backfield and run defense, right? Because Jermaine's also really good at run defense. Mm-hmm. I feel like Clowney, that is one name. I have a list of like 5 names that I would really be honing in on. But if I only had to choose one of that 5, Clowney without even hesitation.
Yeah, the Jets have been connected to Clowney like in rumor mill stuff for like 1,000 years, but it has never happened for whatever reason. Again, I think he is one that, again, maybe I don't know how the fans would feel about it. Maybe we'll put that up as a poll just to gauge fans. But my gut of the pulse of the fans is they would not be intrigued by Clowney, but they should be, because for all the reasons you said. Again, I think statistically, analytically, plus seeing him on the Jets defense, I think it unlocks another level for some of these pass rushers they've never seen because of scheme in the town around them. Again, cough, Quinnen Williams, for those counting at home, he'd be there. But I'm just kind of curious, who are the other names on your list?
So I had a few. So I had 3 people like as Clowney, like this is the Bryce Huff replacement, as in this is somebody who I need to get close to 10 sacks this upcoming year. Clowney was one.
Okay.
Yannick Ngakoue, I like him.
I love that guy. Yeah,
I like him. I feel like he has a bad rap. So I don't know.
He's been on like a million teams in a million years, similar to Clowney, I guess, in a lot of ways. But yeah, he's been like a literal hired mercenary. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they both have been doing the same thing. They're looking for the big contract. They never get it, so they take the 1 year deal.
Productive. I mean, the stats speak for themselves.
Highly productive. He's coming off an injury, right? His season ended early in week 13 last year. But he has experience. Like he's been with Salah in Jacksonville, right?
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
So. I like him. He's younger than Clowney, right? Like Clowney is on one side of 30, Giannis on the other side. But
okay. Who else we got?
Bud Dupree.
Okay.
Another
not
one.
As sexy, but okay.
Definitely not as sexy, but he's been producing sacks. He's another mercenary. And then the JFM And now I don't, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but the JFM replacement, I had two. Both of them are top 5 picks that did not really work out, And this is like a reclamation project where I trust a lot. I trust Jeff Ulbrich to give me something where they were struggling. Dante Fowler Jr.
Okay.
And Cleveland Farrell, who was just competing for a Super Bowl not too long ago.
The 49ers, correct. Yep.
Yes. So those are the 5 names. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I got the 2 that JFM level for me, and then those 3. One of those 3. If Bryce Huff walks out that door, which he already did, and I don't think he's coming back, you got to get one of those 3. We got to replenish the sacks, because if that doesn't happen, this defense could fall apart. You need that pressure coming from that front 4.
Okay, compelling. We'll put a lot of these names. I think instead of competing as we normally do, like a 1v1 situation, I think we should just kind of put together some of our best name options among like Clowney, this guy. Give 4 options or something on Twitter and see what the fans would prefer. If you could have one of these guys between Clowney and a bunch of these other ones, where would they go? And I'd be curious to see the results from the fans, because maybe I just don't have the right pulse for some of these names. But I'd be fascinated, because, again, we have to prepare for that scenario, because it's seeming more and more obvious potentially that Bryce Huff is going to be gone. But I will be intrigued to see. Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're scared, like you don't have a name, you just don't want to get smacked. Yeah, of course, we can do some sort of teamwork thing where it's together and you don't have to worry about taking the L. Yeah. We can put like 4 names together.
And real quick, like Ricky's saying, hey, is Brian Burns on there? Yeah. Is Jesus in my top 5 deities? Like, I just like Burns is getting tagged. So like, I just,
he's not available.
Yeah,
he's
right.
not available.
Like again, hey Paul, who of the 5 quarterbacks do you want? Kirk Cousins, this guy, or Patrick Mahomes? Oh well, Mahomes. Yeah, but come on, he's not available. So Burns, with all due respect, ain't leaving Carolina. He's getting tagged, maybe tagged and traded, but at the very least tagged. So I don't think Brian is coming over here, unfortunately. Plus, he just apparently declined an offer from the Panthers that paid him $27 million plus per year over 5 years because he wants over 30. Yeah. Going to go on a stretch saying, I don't think he's coming here. But hey, different strokes for different folks. All right, everybody. That'll do it for a little Boy Green Meets Woody action. This was one of the most anticipated episodes of the season, no doubt about it. Coming up on Tuesday, we finish it off. That's the last positional group, right, Rudy?
It is. It's closing time, and then we're gonna, cover that last one. My favorite Jet, my favorite player on the team. We will be talking about him next week. And then after that, we still got some goodies for you. We got some goodies for you, baby. So don't go anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. And we'll end on this tease. So the Tuesday episode is interior defensive lineman. I don't know if you saw the tweet, but Damon Snacks Harrison, one of my favorite Jets of all time, I'm not putting him in a Mount Rushmore, but he's just a favorite Jet that I remember fondly from his path and journey and everything. He mentioned something about coming to Florham Park. Now, I don't think it's as a player. I don't think he's played in a few years, but it might be for some coaching role or something. So people look on Twitter on Damon Harrison. He was responding to a Jets tweet and said, I'm coming soon. What does that mean? Is he retiring a one-day Jet? Has he already retired? I don't know what this is about, but it's very interesting ahead of our IDL episode on Tuesday. Is Snacks being a coach? What's happening here? I love Snacks, but I'm curious about that one as well. So TBD, Urkel, TBD. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Well, we're going to figure it out, huh? We're going to see. We're going to take a look-see.
That's a pretty good impression. Phenomenal. All right, everybody. This was a longer episode, but we appreciate you guys all tuning in for it. I'll be back tomorrow morning with Italy for some Boy Green Day. That'll be at 7:30 in the morning. Boy Green Meets Woody back on Tuesday at 3 o'clock. It'll be NFL Combine week, so we'll mix in some of that content as well. Keep it out for that. We'll see you then. God bless. Peace out. Like the video. Hit subscribe on the way out. Appreciate you. Peace.